people were saying for horny soccer moms, which I was like, that's really rude, first of all. Yeah.
Kelly's not a mom, and she doesn't even play soccer anymore. Hi, hey, hello, everyone. Welcome to this shot episode of the Bring Your Own Book podcast. I'm Nikki.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Tilly.
And today we are doing things a little differently. Two of us have read the book and one of us hasn't. And that book is The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. A little disclaimer that Tilly is the one who has not read the book. And it is not because she just didn't finish it. It is because she decided after the second one that this just wasn't her cup of tea. And I don't know if this is going to turn into Kelly and I trying to convince her that it will be her cup of tea. But
I'd love to see it.
But we have some stuff we're going to go over. So it should be extra fun today.
Yes, Nikki.
I can't wait.
She gave the very cute title of Sloppy Seconds instead of a shot. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably more the vibe of this episode.
Yeah. Take all of this information with a grain of salt. I've read all of these books once. Kelly has read the first one like 8 million times and the other ones once. So.
Oh, have you
read the first? I was just going to say, I've read the first two books. I really enjoyed the first book from Blood and Ash. We do have an episode on this book in our first season. So if you're looking for like facts and structure, maybe that's something you should listen to if you haven't already. I really enjoyed the first book and I read the second. I know Kelly loves the whole series. I was really convinced. But unfortunately, the second book just didn't really work for me and kind of fell apart in terms of like what I was interested in seeing. So I decided not to continue on with the series, but I very much support Kelly and Nikki loving it and am excited to hear them talk about it because I'm just a little invested. I want to know about the drama. I want to know about how some of the characters ended up, but not so much that I wanted to like put in the time myself to read it. So it is a little lazy of me, I will admit, but also there's only so much time to read and we have to be choosy sometimes.
Well, yeah, and these books are thick. Like they're so big. Have you read the companion novel yet, Nikki?
No, I'm waiting until the second one comes out so I can read them all together.
Okay, so
What's
I have read the
one again?
Yes, it's A Shadow in the Ember. I always confuse that title with An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, which I haven't read. So
similar titles though, yeah.
Yes. But that's the Flesh and Fire series, and that's a companion series that happens thousands of years before From Blood and Ash. So she released that book right before The War of Two Queens, and I've read them both, so it makes a lot of sense. We got a lot of info from that one that helps us out with this book, but have I remembered it all? No. So we will see how this goes.
I mean, that's the thing. They're like thick books, but they're not dense. Like there's so much that happens, but also so much that doesn't happen. It's a very particular thing where it's like if I read them, I would read them quickly, but I wouldn't be able to retain a lot because I don't know why. It's just I don't know. It's like a phenomenon with Jennifer.
Yeah.
I like when people say, recommend me a good book. Is this a good book? Yeah. Is it a good book? No, it's not. The prose, non-existent. The time and place energy, also non-existent, because sometimes they're like talking like it's kind of medieval times, and then they're like, wow, that's so random. What the fuck? And I'm like, okay, what is this? And also, can I just say, the Nyctos book that came out has another similarity that really bothers me. So it has the exact same fucking cover as From Blood and Ash. They just made it dark.
No.
It is exactly the same. The background is exactly the same.
But
it's
there's
just
a moon
dark.
and a dragon eye.
Yeah, like the emblem, but everything else is the exact same cover. I'm like, you were really so lazy you couldn't have picked a different part of the picture? Like you couldn't have just like moved the little Photoshop window over and chosen a different branch? Like, what is this?
Listen, Jennifer L. Armentrout has a brand and she
Yeah.
knows what it is and she sticks to it. And it works. I mean,
Yeah.
these have become incredibly popular and for good
Yes.
reason, I think, because she has this like really addictive quality to her writing that like sucks you in, even though you know it's not like anything groundbreaking, but it is still just like really compelling to read. At least it was for the first book for me.
Yeah. I have decided to stop disclaiming my love for this series because I
Great.
freaking love it. And
Yeah.
I'm tired of dealing with the backlash of ACOTAR fans who are like, this is crap. And I'm like, okay, but this is like ACOTAR 2.0. And I enjoyed the first 2 books that I've read of the ACOTAR series. So like, who cares? Who cares? You know?
Let people like things. It's fine. Yeah, whatever brings you joy. Like, the world is hard enough. Find something that brings you joy and don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
I need some Hawk in my life, okay?
Yeah.
Castile, Poppy, sure. Kieran, yes, we will talk about him. So I don't care, people.
Kieran, yes. Yeah. I keep picturing him as like kind of like Jesse Williams from Grey's Anatomy.
Yes.
Like very just like piercing blue eyes and like the kind of like shaved head. That's what I've been picturing. So that's been working for me in a way. And I know there are some sexy things that happen in this book because I've been on Twitter.
Yes.
So I'm excited to talk about that.
Well, sexy in essence. Well, there is one part of this book that has been alluded to, and it has been leading up to this moment for basically since the first book.
I remember.
It left a little to be desired. But I guess, Kelly, why don't we do a little kind of recap of what happens to get to this book, and then we'll fill Tilly in on the plot points of the book.
But also, before we go into the plot of the last book, The War of Two Queens, we have to do our fun little game with Tilly about some of the extras.
Oh.
Yes.
Is it a game that I can fail at because I'm already stressed?
You know what? You'd think not, but you can.
Uh-oh.
You can.
All right.
And we
Okay,
did.
I'm ready.
Yes, we did.
Uh-oh.
It's great.
Let's start this recap.
Okay, Tilly, what do you remember about From Blood and Ash, the very first book?
I would love to tell you. I remember that it focuses on the maiden, whose name is Poppy. She has some sort of dumb actual name. Oh, Penelope.
I like it.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, dumb is a really subjective term. I didn't like it because it felt too real to Penelope, but like not. Anyway, doesn't matter. So she's the maiden, which means she's some sort of like religious icon reborn, I think, in this restrictive society, and she's like not allowed to go out and about, but she's very feisty and she likes to go out and about and take her veil off and like reveal her real face, which is scarred from an attack of these like creatures. So in like the first chapter, I think she is out and about on the town in disguise, quote unquote, and she runs into this fellow named Hawk, who is like very handsome and dreamy, and they have like a sort of sexy moment. And the other thing too is that Poppy is the maiden, which has all the implications of she must remain pure and like a virgin and nobody can touch her. But she feels herself awakened by this sexy man. And then later on, he turns out to be her bodyguard. Sorry, I'm like salivating because I'm like so excited about talking about this. And I was so into the book for like so much of this time because I'm like, oh yeah, they're like close proximity and they're like discovering each other. And through it all, Poppy is like starting to learn from Hawk because he has all these ideas about maybe the society that you grew up in isn't good or isn't like what you thought it was. And there's all this like there's a sickness too that kind of happens and people can be like cursed, and it's kind of connected to these like monster things that are also attacking everything.
Yes, the Craven.
That's what I remember as a setup.
Yes.
The Craven. Yes.
Yes.
That's what I remember. I'm going to turn it over to Kelly to wrap up the plot points.
Okay, so basically the rest of the book, she's learning things about the Atlanteans and the Craven and the Ascended because she thinks she's going to ascend, which is this huge ritual. And then she finds out that she's basically been fed lies her whole life. And she doesn't want to ascend, and then she finds out that Hawk isn't really Hawk, that he's the Dark One, Castiel Denier, and he's like leading the revolt, and yeah. So, and she's like, you lied to me. And then the second book starts, and he's like, you're gonna marry me. And she's like, what? And a lot of sexy
the marriage
times.
thing happens at the end of the first book.
Yes,
He's like,
says
my
that at
wife,
the end.
and she's like, huh? And then it moves on. But that was actually my favorite when they were in, I don't even remember what it's called, wherever they
Little
were.
town.
Yeah, it was great. That was my favorite part of the whole series.
They had sex in the snow, and they had sex in a carriage in the middle of a fight. I'm like, there's stuff going on.
That was a lot.
We're busy. They're busy, but we're busy, okay?
Should we say too that the Ascended turned out to be like basically vampires?
Yes.
Yeah. There's like a lot of pseudo vampires in this story that I get confused, and I would love a glossary. We don't have a glossary.
Yeah, Cravens are like crazy vampires, like actually like diseased vampires, zombie vampires.
Yeah.
And then the Ascended are your typical like Dracula vampires, where they're like very beautiful, but they don't feel anything, and they only come out at night.
And they feed on people.
And they feed on people to live. And then you have Atlanteans, who are also like vampires, but they're superior. They don't need blood all the time, and they can go out in the sun.
And they're like a whole other race. So they're like ancient. They've got powers.
Kind of like deities almost. Yeah. Or like half demigods.
Yeah. So we find out in the second book, there's so many things I don't remember, but there's a lot of traveling. I was so annoyed by all the traveling.
So much traveling in that one.
Oh my God. That poor horse.
And so much of like Poppy
steady.
just arguing everything. And it's like, maybe you don't actually know anything, Poppy. Just listen for a moment.
Yeah. So she starts learning she has some very strong magical power kind of things, and she doesn't know why. And then she finds out she's descended from a god named Nyctos, who is one of the main characters in the companion novel. And then in the third book, we find out that no, she's not a god, she's a deity, which is like a step above a god, I think.
But we don't ever really know, because she's so bad at explaining what the hierarchy is of all of these like magical godly creatures. We have no idea.
And
it really does feel like Jennifer is just making this up as she goes along, which like I respect that, but I find it confusing.
I think she just like she needs to look at like Cliff's notes of her own books before she starts writing the next one, because wow. Just wow. I now I don't even remember what happened in the third one. I'm like, what was it?
I'm trying to gloss over most of the things because there's so many things to try to remember. But I will say, reading the third book, The Crown of Gilded Bones, and then reading the companion novel, I was like, okay, she has plotted a plan for this book. And it really helped me going into the fourth one. So that book I felt was like the clearest apart from the first. So I will say that. But there's a lot of things. Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen with Cass's brother, who was like imprisoned for 50 plus years and used as like a sex slave and a blood source because he's got magic in his veins or whatever power. And so they're trying to get his brother back. Yeah. And then at the end of the third book, we find out the queen of that city. I forget, the big city.
Carcedonia?
Atlantia?
No. Yeah, Carcedonia. She isn't Poppy's grandmother like
She's
we
her
thought.
mom.
Yes. And she's crazy AF. And
and she's
Didn't we find that out in the
Isbeth.
second book?
no, we didn't find that out in the second book, I don't think.
I feel like I had that realization in the second book. Was it like alluded to maybe?
I don't
Maybe
remember.
I'm mixing things up.
We might
I don't
have
know.
told
It
you
doesn't
before.
matter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, maybe.
But basically, at the end of the third book, she captures Kaz, and Poppy's like, I'm gonna fuck you up if you touch a hair on his head. And the ending was so epic. And she was like, bitch, I'm gonna go get my man. And then the fourth book happens.
And
Okay.
I really wish everybody could see my face because just like that is just how I felt. They are not together for like 400 fucking pages of this book.
Mm-hmm.
Of the fourth one?
Yeah.
2/3 of the
But that's the
fourth
strength
book,
of the series.
yeah. 2/3 of this book, they are not together. And I was like, why am I reading this? Because the whole reason I like the series is because they are together physically in the same place. I was just like,
Oh no. Okay, so the two queens in the title then are Poppy
Yes.
and Isbeth,
Isbeth, yeah.
who is her
Yes.
mom.
Yes.
So it's a mother-daughter fight.
Yes. Yes. And in the fourth book,
Interesting.
she is like getting it on, like her mom, is getting it on with Cass's brother. But
Ew.
we find out that he's just like kind of going along with it to survive. There's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of stuff.
because he is heartmates, which I fucking hate that. I really wish you would have
Yeah.
just used soulmates because heartmates just sounds like cheesy and weird. Anyway, Cass's brother Malik is heartmates with this girl named Millicent, who is Poppy's older sister, and they look exactly the same, except she doesn't have scars on her face, obviously. And so Millicent spends the fourth book basically with this like black paint on her face or something.
Yeah,
so
and her
no one,
hair.
yeah, and black in her hair so that nobody can tell who she is. But apparently she doesn't know that Malik is her heartmate. He just like loves her from a distance, which is like creepy because it's been like a lot of years that they've been
Okay,
in
I
the
need
same
to pause.
place. Yeah.
Where did Millicent come from? Because I remember that Poppy had a brother.
Oh yeah, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead?
Yep. Isbeth killed him at the end of the third book.
In front of Poppy.
Ripped his head right off or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of the tension in the first book was like, but my brother's ascended, so they can't be that bad because he would never willingly do that. So is he bad or is he good?
He's
no.
good.
And he's not her real brother. Yeah. There's a whole lot
And-
we've glossed over.
So Millicent is, you know how there were two maidens before Poppy?
Oh,
She
yeah.
is one of them, and she failed for some reason. I just still don't even really know what the reason is that she didn't like work. She wasn't powerful enough, but Isbeth still loves her, and she does still have like crazy powers, and she's really hard to kill and everything, but not to the level that Poppy is. So she's basically like Isbeth's right hand, like general lady.
Yeah, she is not the maiden because she didn't have the shadow of an ember, if you will, in her. She didn't have the deity gene or whatever passed down to her. So she doesn't have those powers. So her mom decides to make her a revenant, which you don't know what that is because it's in the third book.
No.
But it's basically this like creature that cannot die. It will just like keep like coming back from the dead unless it's killed by a draken, which is basically a shape-shifting
What's a
dragon.
There's dragons in this one?
Yes.
Okay. I love dragons.
I know.
I don't think it's like as cool as you're thinking though.
No, that's the thing. And like I'm listening to all this and I'm like, I thought this would make me feel less confused, but I think I'm actually more confused.
Well, we're
confusing
skipping
because-
over a lot.
I know.
Also, Isbeth really loved Malek, who was Cass's mom's first husband, but we find out that that is not Poppy's dad, and her dad is actually his twin brother Iris, who is being captured by Isbeth and held as a cat in this cave down below the city.
A cat?
Yes.
Like
And
a
she
wild
saw
cat,
him.
not a house cat.
No.
And so what?
Yeah.
So okay, so he was a wild cat, and that's how he impregnated Isbeth?
No.
Okay, good.
The cage is just like making his powers weak, so he can't transform back into a human. But they were having a consensual relationship where
Human to human.
yes,
Okay, good.
at least like
Clarification.
human parts to human parts.
Oh.
Because they're not really humans, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, right there. Whatever.
Yeah, I
P to
didn't
V.
mean like they were like cats, but he had a human penis.
That's what I was picturing, and I was like, no.
Wow. This is
It's like the book's weird, but it's not that weird.
No.
Well, that's the thing. She keeps kind of coming back to the same plot points, which is like a twin brother that nobody knew about. Like not actually the mom; it's actually the grandma, or like whatever.
Mhm.
She seems to be really interested in using family members as like a twist,
Mhm.
and that's something that like is kind of getting predictable after a while, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it was still like big twists for while you were reading.
There's a lot that we can't go into because we've already been talking about the plot, quote unquote,
for
a
24
while.
minutes. But yeah, basically, fourth book, after 400 pages, they get cast out. The first 400 pages, whatever's happening doesn't really matter. They take over a few cities, they get there, there's a confrontation, they play nice for a little while, which was like really boring, and then they get cast out along with his brother. But Millicent has been left behind because Millicent is like, ew, Malik, I don't like you, because she doesn't know yet.
So when you say they get cast out, that's
Kieran
Poppy
and
Kieran
Poppy.
and somebody else?
There's a few other people. They've brought like a little group to...
What about those cool ladies? There were like two cool Atlantean sisters. No, not Atlantean. They were the same thing that Kieran is. What's her name?
Wolven.
Wolven. The two cool Wolven sisters.
I don't think they're sisters. There's his sister.
Yes.
And then their mom.
Okay, that's what I'm remembering.
She's
I liked
cool.
them.
And then there's like the other lady.
There's a bunch of new people now because they've met up with like new people as they're traveling and gathering troops for this big war. So there's like Drakens now. There's more Wolven, who Poppy has a connection with because of her deityness. She's able to communicate with them through like her mind, basically. And so she has a
primal
very...
Notum?
Yes. She has a very strong connection with the Wolven.
So, okay, so if her dad... so how is she descended from Nyktos if her mom was Isbeth and her dad was
Because
Wildcat Man?
Nyktos is Malik and Iris's dad.
Mm-hmm.
So Nyktos
Okay.
would be her grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the first book, they talked about Malik, who is not Cass's brother, the other Malik. Why did I have the same name, first of all? And
We'll get to
they
that.
talk about Malik as being like the first king or something, or he had like this big love story with somebody?
Isbeth.
With Beth? With Isbeth?
Yeah, they're heartmates.
Mm-hmm.
So that was talked about in the first book, but then
Yeah.
kind of like disproven in the second book, but then proven again in the third book?
Well, they thought that they had run away and they were like living somewhere secretly together. But nobody being Castiel's mom, finally came out and was like, actually, I imprisoned Malik in this tomb like hundreds of years ago. And sorry, forgot to tell you that Queen Ileana from
Ileana, that's who I
that
remember,
is
yeah.
Isbeth. Haha, just conveniently forgot that little tidbit.
Yeah.
And that's your mom, Poppy. Like,
And there's a prophecy too that we can't go into because it's so long.
it's very long.
But it all relates, and it relates a lot to the companion novel. So I wasn't too lost with that in The War of Two Queens. But yeah,
Okay.
that's a whole other layer that deals with Malik, Isbeth, whatever, Poppy. Yeah.
There is literally a line in this where he goes, "is bitch," and I'm like, okay, what?
Oh.
Like, the fucking choices that were being made. I don't know if she was like, this book is just fun for me, so I'm not gonna have an editor. Bad choice. Have an editor,
like, oh,
because you should have had someone say, do not put that in there.
So, right. Maybe we should say that. So her books were self-published for a while, right?
No,
Or-
they're independently published with like a small publisher. So her other books are through another publisher, but she said she wanted to go with this publisher so that she could do it her way and not be like beholden to everything they wanted her to do, I guess, which is fair. So
Right. Oh, totally. I just remember for a while it was like you could only buy her books through a certain website, but that now they're more generally available because they're really popular now. So I was like, good for you, like success story
yeah.
to kind of, make it more mainstream.
This feels like a great time to talk about our sponsor for this episode, Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa is a sustainable jewelry company based in the United States, and all of their products, from the jewelry itself to the packaging, is completely carbon neutral.
We are very lucky to have a 10% off discount code for all of you today. So if you're interested in beautiful carbon neutral jewelry, please go over to Ana Luisa's website, pick some of it out, and use our code capital BYOB to get your discount.
Remember, Ana Luisa's pieces start from just $39 US, so there is something for everyone's budget, including mine. But it will be hard to pick because everything is just so freaking cute.
Yeah.
I will say I have hardly taken this jewelry off since they so kindly sent it to us. I love it so much. My ears don't feel itchy at all. And I feel like I just look cute all the time,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Always a plus. I got a pair of really cute, simple studs because I usually like that type of style of jewelry for myself. And then I have another pair that they gave me that is like a dangly half moon shape that's marbled. And it's so cute. And that's for my fancier days or when I want to feel a little extra special.
Yeah, I really love the pieces that I picked out as well. I also got a similar one to Kelly with the kind of like half moon earrings, but just a different design. And I like that they're marbled, and so they all are a little bit different. So I would imagine that even if someone got the same pair as me, it would still be like unique, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I also got a very cute little necklace. It's just a tiny little freshwater pearl on a gold chain. I usually tend towards like really minimalistic jewelry, so I was really excited by these pieces.
So after living in their stuff since they've arrived basically in the mail, we absolutely recommend them. So again, please go check out Ana Luisa's website and use our code capital BYOB to get your 10% off.
I want to get to this game.
Let's do this. Okay, Tilly, I have written down some popular words from the book. I want you to tell me how you would pronounce them. And then based on the glossary at the beginning of The War of Two Queens, we will tell you how Jennifer pronounces them.
Oh God, I know I'm gonna hate this.
Yeah. So remember we kept saying we wanted a glossary or like info, whatever. We got a pronunciation
or like a family
guide.
tree.
Yeah. Here it is.
Are you ready? Word 1.
Malik.
Malik.
Okay, that was gonna be my second guess.
It gets
But,
better.
like-
That's fine.
If you wanted to call him Malik, you should have just spelled it.
How is it spelt, Nikki, so our listeners can understand?
Okay. It is spelled. Oh, this one is Malik. This one is Malik. Malick is how she spelled the. Okay, this one.
That's Malik?
Yeah.
Yeah. Malec.
No, ma'am.
Mm,
Malik should be Malik.
Yeah.
That would make
Yeah.
sense to me.
Yep.
This is wrong. I don't. Okay.
Yeah, there's more.
I'm already upset.
Okay. The next one down.
Carcedonia.
Carcedona. Why would you put the I there?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
Yes.
Is she just okay? Okay, actually, on one level, I'm kind of starting to respect her a little bit because I'm like, she's using language however she wants. She's creating new words. She's saying no thanks to the English language, and I part of me is interested in that, but the other part of me is upset because it just seems reckless,
Yeah.
careless.
Bizarre.
Oh, okay. The next one.
I don't remember even seeing that in the books that I read. Is that a character?
So this is a term from the Wolven that means like my queen. And they call Poppy
Okay, can you
that
show it
because, yeah.
Can you show it again? I would say Mia Liesa.
Mia Lisa.
Okay.
But like why
That's okay.
why are you putting in other letters that don't need to be there? I could understand your point of she's breaking rules of the English language, but she didn't have these glossaries on any other books.
Right.
And also, there's a bunch of words here that don't need to be here. Like Alistair. She literally is like, this is how you say Alistair. But she just hyphenated the actual name for the pronunciation. And it's like, why? Like, what?
Yeah.
So it does almost feel like she's kind of retroactively doing that. Like, this is how you pronounce my version of this word.
But
Okay.
also, oh,
What's that word? Is that from the first two books? Notum?
Well, you'd think it would be Notum, but it's no Tom. No,
No
Tom.
Tom.
no Tom's allowed.
Notam is pronounced
No
no
Tom. Yeah.
But also, I
Okay.
want to say in an interview I saw her do on an Instagram Live, she was like, I don't care if people mispronounce things because I pronounce things differently every day of my own characters. And I was like, what?
Okay. Then that makes sense to me because if she doesn't know,
Right?
and she admits that she doesn't know, then this is all just kind of funny.
Do you guys know, like on TikTok, that trend of like singing or speaking in cursive?
No.
No.
It's people basically just say things in this like really weird voice. And after hearing you say that, Kelly, about what she said, I'm like, I feel like she just speaks in cursive all the time and she just changes all of the words. Like even just in her regular everyday life.
I would love to hear what speaking in cursive sounds like.
I'll send
Nikki.
you guys a
right?
video after. It's so
I want you to
annoying
do
but
it.
funny.
I want it to be you.
I can't. I really
Okay.
can't. I'll never bounce back.
Okay, I have a word. I don't know if you wrote down.
No, I had one more, but it's actually kind of like a given.
Macedonia, which is already a country, North Macedonia, in our world. So it frustrated me that she created this country that she thought was fantasy that is not. And it's not. Anyway.
And she says Macedonia, like just like Carcedonia.
Yeah. But
The I doesn't
also,
matter.
Penelope Balfour, she pronounces it Balflor. There's no
With an
L
extra
there.
L that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer, we need to talk about consonants and vowels
Phonics.
and your relationship to them.
Honestly, reading that glossary felt like if you were like, my name's James, but I spell it like Michael. That's what that glossary started to feel like. It's
Yeah.
so random.
Yeah.
I know, and in that sense, it almost goes around from like being like bad to being kind of good again, because it's like makes the full cycle of like it's so bad, it's good, and almost like making fun of itself. So is it camp? I don't know.
I'm just confused because then the main character from the companion novel was named Serafina, and Sarah for short. Except no, it's Serafina and Sira.
What?
¿Por qué? I don't know. Like,
I don't know either. But Serafina is a dope name.
right?
Yeah,
Not
it just made me think
Serafina.
of the Golden Compass.
Mm.
Yeah, Serafina Bacala forever.
Yeah.
So that's our game.
Wow.
/ rant.
Yeah. I want to talk about the main event of this novel because this is why, this is why I texted Tilly, even though she hadn't read it, because I was like, I need to talk to someone because Nikki's not there yet and I need to get this out.
Yeah. And I was here for it because I had been reading all these things on Twitter about like all these people who were mad about this basically threesome.
Yeah.
Which literally I had kind of predicted from the first novel. I was like,
Yes.
oh, this is going to happen. There are vibes between Cass and Kieran. They have this like close bond. They like share all these things. They're both kind of like interested in Poppy. They have some like sexy moments, all three of them.
She
and
has
I was like, oh, well,
sex
obviously
with
this
Cass,
is coming to this.
and he holds her.
Yeah.
Hello.
I will say I was mad, but not because there was a threesome. I was looking forward to it. This was like, I had been waiting for this moment for like 1,800 pages, and it was finally happening. But, and this is something, whenever she has a scene with more than 2 people, you can never fucking tell what is going on because she is not good at explaining things. And I think that this was like the prime example because it was like, there's a knee. And I'm like, whose knee?
Yeah.
Whose knee?
Yeah.
I need to know.
Because that makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, there were hands on me. Whose hands? Like, why am I reading this vague thing? Like, it might as well have been like,
go for it.
Like, the lights went dark and I couldn't see anything the next day because it was like, I don't know. It just felt like a really big waste of time for all of that buildup because there was no good explanation. She talked about Cass, but didn't really talk about Kieran, just like, Kieran's behind me, and then there was a penis. And I'm like, but whose? Whose penis? I need to know.
Yeah, and like she talks about it in her author's note because she knew going in that half the people were going to be really pissed that there was a threesome and the other half would be like excited for it. And she said it was planned from the beginning and I wanted to focus this scene on more about like I guess like the emotional aspect or like the ritual of the joining and not so much the sexy times. So I'm like, okay, hopefully in the next book there will be sexy times that we'll hear about because I feel like she was too scared to go there because of her readers. And half the readers on Goodreads were so awful to her and on her personal pages like on Twitter, Facebook.
Why?
Because they thought she was doing lip service and putting in this like smutty scene just to this. People were saying for horny soccer moms, which I was like, that's really rude, first of all. Yeah.
Kelly's not a mom and she doesn't even play soccer anymore.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I know. But I just couldn't believe these people were being so rude over a book, over a fake scenario.
I know. And and because there are so many smutty scenes in this series that like obviously this is just another a logical evolution of these scenes. And from what I could tell, because I was trying to like read around the subtext of like, why are people actually upset here without having read the book? I didn't know all the specifics. And from what I understood, it was because they were like, it was a lot of just veiled homophobia, right? It was a lot of them being like, well, Castile would just never have sex with a man, like be intimate with. Was that part of it?
No, I didn't know.
Oh.
So what I remember is she had asked him about that in a previous book. Like, have you ever like had group sex or a threesome or whatever with Kieran? And I'm pretty sure Cass said yes, but that it wasn't so much that he was into Kieran, just like he has no qualms about that. So, and he said Kieran being a wolven.
I think that's why. I think that's why people were upset though, is because it was like happening.
I don't know how people could have even been upset or felt that they had the right to be upset.
Who cares?
Because from the first time they talked about the joining, and I think the first time she really hears about it is from like Alistair or something, and he's like, yeah, it can get more like, I don't know if he says like sexual, but like sensual or something, like alluding to the fact that you could start like getting like hot for the people you're joining with. And I'm like, okay, were all of these people really thinking they were going to say that and then it wasn't going to happen? Have you been reading the books?
And the fact that they were voyeurs with Kieran and that girl at that wedding, and he was like, oh yeah, the Wolven don't have any qualms about sexuality. Everything is open and welcome and there's no shame. And then they start like fooling around, watching them. Like, hello.
Oh my God.
I just don't understand why people would be upset. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me because it's a book. It just chill out. And also, like, these characters aren't real people.
No. Yeah.
And even if they were, people can do all sorts of things that like you might not have expected or that you might not approve of, but it doesn't mean that the author is like betraying her like her brand or something. Because that was always her brand, was like kind of inexplicable sex moments.
Yeah.
And this one was explained.
Yes.
And the whole joining thing was like a ritual to, I don't know, get a Wolven of your own. I was a little unclear on that.
So it's to link your life with someone else. And so they didn't do it for a while because they weren't really sure what Poppy was. So when they found out that she's a deity, she was like, okay, I want to link Cass to me because I will live longer than him and I'm more immortal than he is. But then she had this connection with Kieran, and she's tied with Kieran because she has the primal notum, or notom, whatever. And she didn't want him to be left out because she cares deeply for him as well. And they talk about that throughout this whole book. And people were also pissed because they thought that she was cheating on Cass because Kieran was there for her in this whole book because he was also feeling loss and grieving the loss of his like really, really close friend, almost like life partner in a way, because they've been together this whole time and nothing sexual happened. He would like cuddle with her in Wolven form just to protect her.
Okay, no, something pseudo-sexual did happen, but I was there for it. She has to feed from him, and she's reading his thoughts when she's feeding from Kieran. And at first it's a scene of him and Castile like catching fish or something, and then he changes the scene and she's watching him having sex with that Wolven girl and him watching Castile finger her while they're watching him. So
he said that she said that he said that she said that he said.
Yeah.
But do they know that we know that they know?
Yes.
Well, and she stops feeding from him and she's like, you were watching us? And he was like, yeah, it was super hot. So that is like a pseudo-sexual thing, kind of like they weren't doing anything. She was feeding from him. But like, I loved that. I was like, yes, girl. And Kieran, I love him so much.
Yeah. And also she was watching him. So there can't be a double standard because she was turned on by him.
Yeah. And there's nowhere in these books that it says like Poppy and I are monogamous and we do not support any sort of anything with anybody else.
No.
So I think a lot of the backlash was just people maybe being a little like projecting too much of what they think is okay in a relationship onto these characters who don't have the same morals.
Well, that's the thing. To bring this back to an earlier episode in season 1 where I said these people are not human, and so you cannot be like, this is what humans would do. These people have relationships to each other that we could never comprehend. There's like blood bonds and like heart bonds that we just don't have in like our real world. So you can't be like, they would never do that because you don't know.
Yeah.
You've never been like tied to somebody through blood. You don't know what you would do for them. Like,
yeah. And
so
people were bringing up that like, they were like, Cass would never do this because he's so protective of her and he's always like, she's mine and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
But not from Kieran.
Exactly. He has
never
total trust in him because they are like two peas in a pod, you know? And so even when he's gone, they have like a dream moment, Poppy and him, where they're like actually together in the dream talking in real time. And I'm pretty sure he's like, you need to feed. Don't worry about me. Like, you need to take care of yourself. I trust Kieran. I trust you. All that jazz. So like, people grow up, okay?
Yeah, just let it go.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the ride.
And I did.
Yeah.
So much. I gave it 5 out of 5.
Love it.
I am very happy that Jennifer didn't decide to go the love triangle route. Instead, she went this other route of like a throuple potentially. And I'm like so interested in that because like in my personal life, no thank you. But like I don't read a lot of books like that. And so, especially in fantasy. So I was really excited for that new direction. And I really like Kieran. So I want to learn more about him and have him come out of his shell more and like verbalize his desire for Poppy because yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a fantasy romance novel and we want the fantasy. We don't want the like what would I do in my everyday life as a
married ass
person
woman
who lives in the suburbs. Yeah. Like,
a soccer mom.
I'm kind of
Listen.
the opposite though. I like kind of having the three of them together, but I don't want too much because I hold out hope that there will someday be a spin-off series with Kieran
Same.
finding his heart mate or whatever. And so I don't want him to be too tied to Poppy and Cass because then it's just going to feel like a breakup and like really weird. And I don't want him to bring a girl in and it be like the four of them. I don't know. I feel like the more tangled he gets with Poppy and Cass, the less likely he's going to find his own person. Because I think for them, it's always going to be Poppy and Cass, and then Kieran.
The primaries. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do want at least like one more scene where we actually get some description and not just confusion.
Yeah.
But
But
tell us whose knee it is.
yeah.
And more.
So
Just the knee. I'm only interested in the knees.
there was a lot of talk about knees between legs, and like just it was a lot. There was a lot of knees involved.
I don't usually find knees are that involved, but maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Well, we're not woven Atlanteans and deities, so who knows how they do it.
Too true. Maybe they have extra knees.
They just
Extra
sprout
joints.
when they're when they're horny. They're like, oh, look at all my extra knees.
Truly, this whole series sounds like oh, what a tangled web you weave. Because that's what I feel like it has become. It has like kind of become just more and more things added on top. And I'm really happy that you both explained to me some things about the War of Two Queens. I don't think I'm going to read it. I'm sorry. I just, I get really caught up in the inconsistencies in the writing, so I find it hard to move past that sometimes. But I love hearing about it, and I don't know, maybe I'll check out like some select scenes.
Yes.
Some carefully curated pages.
I can tell you the numbers, yes.
I bet you could, yeah.
I will say, I guess we haven't really told Tilly the end of the book.
No.
Oh yeah, what happens at the end?
So
Is this the last one?
For now.
no, there's going to be 2 more. At least that's what we think.
2 more, holy wow.
But I will say for myself, I really enjoyed the first 2 books. And this book and the third book I found kind of like convoluted and long, and I didn't really care very much about what was going on. I was really there just for Poppy and Cass, which is why it was such a letdown that they were not together for so much of this book.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of this book, they kill Isbeth, and then in the 5th book that will be coming out, a whole new kind of plot is starting.
Oh.
So
That's
they can
linked to the
start-
companion novel.
Yeah, it can start fresh. So I am really looking forward to the 5th one, that hopefully it will kind of rejuvenate what she's doing, because she can maybe plot a little bit better and figure out what her steps are to get to the end goal before she starts writing. But yeah, I don't know. I was happy for this book to be done, which makes me sad to say because I loved the beginning of this series so much.
I loved the first one, the companion, and this one I think the most. The middle 2, second and third, I felt kind of like, okay, we're traveling a lot. I don't understand what's happening. There's way too much info. I need to reread those too. But yeah, it didn't bother me that they were separated for so long, but I was so happy when they were together because I was into the other plot stuff, even though I'm definitely here for Cass and Poppy, you know? So, but yeah, it gave me like extreme New Moon vibes, and I'm happy they're back together, and I'm ready for them to stay together.
Yes. Yeah, they can't separate them again. Like, it's already been done.
Yes.
And that's what, if that's what most of the book is about, and if that's what most of the audience wants it to be about, then don't torture them. Just let them have what they want.
Give them what
That's
they
my
want.
Give them people what
Yeah.
they want.
Yeah.
Extremely niche, obscure reference to one of our first episodes.
Yeah, check out our backlist. You'll find it somewhere in there. Hint, it's me being made fun of.
But what I love about that is that the rhythm of that sentence was so good that it like gets stuck in my head sometimes.
Give the
You know, like
people
how a
what they
song
want.
does. Yeah, it's so satisfying to say. I mean, we're making fun, but not in a like mean way. We love it. Gotcha.
Well, this whole episode has been chaos. So I think that it's only fair that the outro also be chaos.
Love it.
So thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of what I think we are now going to call Sloppy Seconds.
Yes.
Hopefully you liked this random ass episode of like just I don't even know what to call this. It was just so much of everything.
The hot goss.
If you want to see more from us and what we're doing, please feel free to go and follow us on Instagram or TikTok. Thank you again so much for listening to this episode, and we will catch you next time. Cheers!